It's time to talk about rescue. We've got a variety of different types of rescue that we're going to be talking about today, and we're going to follow these 5 guidelines under any rescue operations, and that is safety is first. You and your crew is the most important thing you've got, so we've got to remember that safety is first. We need to go home at the end of our shift. Part of that is understanding our limits. There are some things that we know we can't do. For example, in water rescue, if you can't swim, you shouldn't be in the water. If you don't have a life preserver, you shouldn't be in the water. So know what your limits are so you don't get into trouble. There's a safety officer at each of the disaster managements who are in charge of the scene. You need to follow their orders, follow the orders of the people above you. Work together as a team to find solutions to what you need to do. Think about what's going on. Take a 30,000 view, just take a step back, take a 30,000 foot view, and say what we're about to do. Does this make sense? And try to look at it from a different perspective. Stay with your patient and inform the patient of everything that's going on, if at all possible. That's the 5th, the golden rule of public service, is stay with your patient and inform them about what's going on. When we talk about vehicle rescue, we're going to be talking about posts, A post, B post, C post. So I want to just point those things out. The number of posts that happen from the front to back is unlimited. So you just start from the very first point where you get from the car up to the roof. That's going to be your A post, the very first one. And then you just go back A, B, C, D, however many letters you need to go back to get to that. So a car that has 3 posts to it, you see A would be in the front, B in the middle, C in the back, and so on. Go watch a little video here, and I'm going to go into the middle of it. I don't have any voiceover on this. There is, but it's a guy who's a salesman, and he's going to talk about tempered glass versus laminated glass. So I'm just going to call this YouTube video up here, and we're going to take a look at this. And we're going to see what kind of thing he's talking about. So as we move forward here, you get up to where we go. He is going to take this window punch, and you can see that the laminated glass easily breaks. I'm sorry, the tempered glass easily breaks apart and falls out. And that's the kind of glass that you're going to see with the vehicles and that kind of thing is tempered glass. Then we're going to move up, and we're going to go to laminated glass. Let me just move ahead in the video here. Right about there. So he's going to take his baseball bat out. He's going to warm up. Now, this is laminated glass as he goes to hit this. And you can see that it doesn't break apart, even with a baseball bat, because there is the glass actually has a laminate over it. And that's the glass that you're going to get in the windshield and on most cars in the back windshield part. So your window punch will not work in those types of glasses. You'll just hit it and it'll just make a mark into it. That's all it's going to do. As of right now, the side glass of all of the cars are tempered glass, not laminated. However, new safety standards coming out in the very near future are going to indicate that we're going to go from tempered glass into laminated glass in those cars, even on the sides of those cars, and that's going to change how we do things. So remember, tempered glass breaks apart very easily. Laminated glass does not, because it has laminate over it. And once they go to the laminated glass completely surrounding the cars, our window punches will no longer work, and we'll have to actually get out some kind of a cutter to get the windshield out, as the new standards approach for next year, I believe is when that's supposed to happen. Next thing I want to show you is an airbag deployment. This is a police officer who's showing you what a airbag deployed would look like in a car. He's going to take his hands off the steering wheel, and bam. That's how fast they come out. That's the thing I want to make sure that everybody sees, is how explosive they are when they actually come out of there, which is pretty explosive. At the scene of a hazardous materials incident, we got the incident that's in the middle of this. In the contaminated area is called the hot zone. We're going to move people from the hot zone through a decontamination area, and at which point in time they will be decontaminated mostly with water, and we'll move them through that area. That area of movement from the hot zone out through the decontaminated area and during the contaminated process is called the warm zone. And then we'll get out into another area of the incident, which is called the cold zone, still cordoned off and not accessible to the public, which is where the command post will be. So the command post sits in the cold zone. We're going to load the ambulance up with these patients, and we're going to take them out of here. So that's an example of what a hazmat zone would look like: the hot zone, the warm zone, the cold zone. We have to consider in making those zones, we have to look at wind direction to see what the wind is blowing, and in this way the wind is blowing from right to left, which means that on the right side, your warm zone, your hot zone, warm zone, cold zone will be less in distance than on the downwind side as the wind is blowing that way. So it may be more oval shaped than circular when the wind is blowing. In hazardous materials, you have 4 levels of certification. It's awareness, operations, technician, and specialist. As a hazmat awareness, this is an intro level course, and that basically looks at these kinds of signs that are over here that just say what's on them and what they mean. It shows you how to look numbers up that are on placards and that kind of stuff. Those folks are not intended to respond to a hazardous materials incident, but if one happens within their line of duty. An example of that would be a police officer, a first aid person at some factory or something like that would be an example of somebody that probably would have hazmat awareness. Hazmat ops are people who are expected to be working inside the warm zone or expected to respond to a hazardous materials incident. And that would be an EMT or a paramedic. If we had a hazardous materials incident, I would certainly expect an ambulance to be on the scene. So by law, we should be hazmat operations certified in responding, if needing to respond to a hazardous materials incident. The technicians will work inside the hot zone of any hazardous materials call. They have much more significant training, and we get all the way up to a specialist who will work in things like nuclear facilities and that sort of stuff, where they're very specialized or handle explicitly hazardous materials like nuclear events. The confined space, this is I talked about before. The confined space has a video using the Mario Brothers theme that kind of takes a look at what happens to the oxygen levels and other gases inside of a confined space. So I'm going to defer that at the moment, and that'll be a second video link that I'm going to have you guys go to in a little bit. Trench rescue, not going to go into this very much. What we're dealing with here is you got hydraulic tools that can be used to shore up the sides of the wall. So if we're digging a trench, or there is a trench collapse is a relatively common rescue effort. And what happens is people dig ditches, and those ditches then, because of insecurity, those ditches collapse. And that's what we get here. And what we're trying to avoid is a secondary collapse with all of this. So what we'll do is we'll put up some shoring, which is mostly plywood or backboards, along with other types of 2x4s or 4x4s or something like that, which are held up by hydraulic tools to create shoring and decrease a secondary collapse. That's the main function of a trench rescue. Quite frankly, that's a pitiful excuse of what trench rescue is all about. It's far more detailed, far more advanced, and I did not do it anywhere as close to being its justice. And I guess my point is, if you're in a trench and you don't know trench rescue, you shouldn't be in a trench, or it's going to be collapsing. I want to talk about low overhead dam. I've been on a couple of these low overhead dam calls in Pennsylvania, and they're relatively dangerous. The flow of the water moves from right to left. It comes over top of this crescent of this dam and then comes down. And if it right about the right angle or the right depth of the water coming over top of this can create a very violent situation and a deadly trap for people to get in. What happens is the water comes down over top of the dam and cycles around here just like a washing machine. And that concept right there is called a boil when it circles right around there. Well, the issue is if you've got a boat and you're coming up close to if you're coming from the right side of this, you can float right over top of the low overhead dam and come right down into that boil, get sucked down under, and then you get into this vicious washing machine cycle where you get thrown against the dam, down to the bottom of the surface, kicked back up again, and then sucked right back into it again. And it's a deadly trap. So it's called a boil. And then the other thing that can happen is you can have a boat right over in here that's trying to come in to rescue somebody or see whatever's being trapped there, and it gets in a little bit too close, and now it gets sucked in from that cycle, from that boil, and then the boat gets sucked in, and then it gets taken down. So I'm going to watch about a 6-minute video or so, something like that, from a place back in Pennsylvania where I used to run calls. This is the Susquehanna River, and it had several low overhead dams on it. I just want to show you what those look like. Skip this ad here in 2 seconds. And we'll get straight to the low overhead dam. And that's what it kind of looks like. That overhead dam comes over, it sucks it down underneath. This boat has the danger of being pulled into this. And then what happens is that boat will get flipped over. Even though it's a boat, flip down and sucked down to the bottom of that and then kicked back up again. So that's what happens here. Let me kind of get past the news event of what's going on here and show you what this looks like and the power of this thing. And you can see the power that water is creating as it sucks down under there. And we'll take a look at a couple more items that are in here. Once again, looking at the power of this thing that's involved with this. Here is a video clip of 2 boaters getting sucked into it, 2 dummies. So it goes in, gets sucked down. They get thrown down to the bottom. You can see, you can't see anything. Get kicked up. You'll see that kick up here in a second. Okay, get kicked up and then sucked right back down again. So that's the issue. That's the deal with the low overhead dam, and that's the problem with them. So that's just a short video on what's going on there. There is rope rescue. Anything that's low angle is less than 45 degrees. Anything high angle is more than 45 degrees. I just want you to be familiar with 3 pieces of terminology regarding a rope rescue. And that is on belay, and this person that's down at the bottom is on belay. And what he's doing is he is allowing this person who is on the rope, allowing that rope to be fed so he can continue moving down. So if this rescuer becomes, something happens and he gets in trouble, that this person down here just pulls the rope taut, and that keeps him from moving up or down and controls it as it's being fed. As he is scaling down this high incline rescue here, that's called a rappel when you are descending on a fixed rope. Typically, the rope is wrapped around trees at the top here, and you come down the rope using this process that you see here, where you've got a figure 8. That's what this thing here is a figure 8. Some of these figure 8s have ears on them. It's a figure 8 with ears. And then here's a locking carabiner. So you put the ropes in that way, and then you can feed that rope right through your figure 8 here. That's how it moves through the figure 8, and that's how you go on rappel. If you're down at the bottom and you want to move up, there's a special device, and I honestly don't remember what that's called, but you click it into the rope and you pull yourself up as you allow that rope to feed through your figure 8 right there. And then obviously the rope attached to the carabiner is attached to the tree. So ascending on a fixed rope is called scrambling. And of course, that's only with one eye, not with 2 eyes. So on belay is the guy down at the bottom who feeds the rope. Rappelling is descending on a fixed rope. Scrambling is ascending on a fixed rope. And that takes care of rescue. Thanks a bunch, folks. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks.